Hi there, Nathan here from Tennis Fitness. Thanks for joining me in this lesson. Today we're looking at emotional management. And really what we want to go over today in this lesson is giving you a bit of an understanding about your emotions, how they can impact your tennis game, giving you some tools to walk away with that you can start to use to help you feel like, you can stay calmer in matches, you can perform better in matches, and that you're more in control about how you feel, because that's how we control our behavior and our actions. All right, so that's what this presentation is about. But before we get into it, I'm sure there's been lots of times, you're either watching this, you might be a coach, you might be a player, you could be a parent, and there's been lots of times where you've either experienced or seen yourself, someone lose the plot on the court, smashing rackets, yelling things out, and then there's also that can lead to then a big decline in the match, and it can start to create these habits and have these strong emotional attachments that will arise from situations in matches, and we don't want to create those bad habits. So that's what we're going to give you some help with today. Let's get into it. Okay, so emotions, what are they? What are emotions? So we all probably have heard of emotions, but we actually think, well, what exactly are they? So they are a strong feeling that comes from your circumstances. So basically how we react to things. So you might feel someone's cheating in a match. You might feel a little bit frustrated because of something that's happening in a match, and ultimately what happens in that situation is we'll have an emotional response to that circumstance. So sometimes it can be happiness. That could be our reaction to a circumstance. Anger, satisfaction, so feeling great about an outcome. Disappointment, sometimes you can feel nice and calm because of what's happening, or sometimes you can get yourself into a state of rage, which does happen a lot with tennis players. So a strong feeling that comes from your circumstances. Okay, so what is emotional management? What is Nathan talking to me about today? So learning to control your emotions on and off the court. We don't want to get good at just doing it on the court. We want to get good at doing it off the court so we can cross over and mesh those two areas together. That way we're going to learn how to react and control our emotions as best we can across our whole life. So we become a lot broader, which is what we want to do. Staying calm in challenging situations is going to help us do that. Getting higher levels of resilience, so become more resilient, be able to absorb physical and emotional stress. That is huge, not only for tennis, but for life. But as for you as a tennis player, you need to be able to absorb physical and emotional stress and still be able to hang in there, stay in there, and get through it. Using tools to help keep you calm, focused, and in control. No matter the situation that you're in on court, we need to equip you with tools that you can use to help you deal with that situation. There's going to be lots of different experiences that you go through in your tennis journey and through matches and getting coached, etc. And we don't want to treat everything the same, but what we want to almost do is go, you know what, I've got a toolkit, I've got a tool bag, and I want to be able to go and be able to take out of that tool bag what I need in this moment. And the more you use the tools, like anything, the better you get at using the tools. So first of all, we need to go, here's some awareness, here's an issue that we need to deal with, here's a tool to use it, and then we keep using that tool, we keep beating on that issue or that circumstance until we get really good at it. And that's how we move ahead very, very quickly. All right, so why do tennis players lose their junk? You may have experienced this yourself on court and you get quite frustrated and angry. I'll tell you why. Well, tennis is an extremely challenging sport. I've worked in the pro space and now spend most of my time in the junior development space. And I can tell you that it's extremely challenging. It's a very complex sport. So we look at the physicality of it. A lot has to be going on there. We have to be a good athlete. Okay, we have to be fit. Technically, we have to be sound in order to play a decent level of tennis. You don't have to be the best, but you need to be sound across all the shots. And also emotionally, can sometimes feel like it's too much. It's a bit overwhelming. The players often get frustrated by their circumstances. We look at things like cheating, getting fatigued, losing. If you're running through like a string of losses, it starts to get to you. Things not going your way. All these reasons can compound and can lead you to the point where you feel like you lose your junk. You want to scream, you want to yell, you want to abuse someone. It happens. We get that, we understand it. So the fact is, not many players work on their emotional management, and they let this have a huge negative impact on their development. So I want to ask you, is that you? Do you feel like you are letting your emotional control get to you? Is it affecting how you play? And worst case, is it affecting the outcome of your matches in a negative way? What about your longevity? Do you think you're going to be able to keep playing your tennis and improving at the rate that you feel you need to and want to if you don't learn to take control of your emotions? Okay, and what about the enjoyment of your game? Do you feel like you're enjoying your game as much as you can, or do you feel like how you're responding to circumstances emotionally is just taking the gloss off that enjoyment? So they're things that you need to think about, and as we go through this now, please make sure that you start to take away some of these tools and start utilizing them for yourself. So what we're going to look at now is a couple of different zones, and I haven't created these. These aren't my creation. A lot of people use the red and blue zone. Some people call them different things. But we just want to categorize basically almost like the red zone and the blue zone. And we want to put them into two simple zones, two simple states. So the red zone we're looking at is more like rage, aggression, loss of control, when you feel like, it's overwhelming and you just feel like you can't control anything that's going on, using bad language, bad body language, being disrespectful, and worst case, tanking a match. When we look at the flip side, the blue zone, it's calm, it's controlled, it's reflective. People are going to be more open. You're going to be more open to sort of, okay, yeah, this isn't going great, but how can I fix it? I'm going to try and do this. I'm going to try and do that. So we open our minds up. We expand our thinking. We're verbally, so what we're saying, it's generally more positive, and our body language is positive as well. So we look like we're ready to go. And our attitude's more geared around like never give in, that you're there, you're going to keep fighting. Now, if we look at these two zones, right, I've made them pretty simple for you. And I'll ask you a question now. Where do you feel like you're going to play your best tennis? In the red zone or in the blue zone? Okay, so I can tell you that some people might say, oh yeah, when I get angry, it's good for me. I play good tennis. Okay, so generally if we're angry or we're frustrated or our body language is great, we're not going to get what we need to. We're not going to get the results that we want. Okay, it's a more negative state. Okay, and it's not really going to help us move forward. There may be times where anger is a good thing. There's no good or bad emotion. What there is there's the behavior that's attached to those emotions is what is bad. If you get angry, there's generally a reason why you're getting angry. If someone's cheating, and that's a valid reason for you to get angry. But what we want to do is go, okay, I'm angry. I've called something out. Stop cheating or whatever it is. But if you hold on to that and then your action after that is a negative one, then that's not a good thing. Okay. If there's been a response and there's been an outburst and all of a sudden you feel like, yep, I've let that go now. How do I tap into my positive tools? How do I get myself back into the blue zone? That's what we want to aim for. Okay, so you're going to be playing much better tennis when you're calm, you can control, and you're reflective, which means you're looking at what's going on. What's the reality of the match? I'm calm, I'm in control, and I'm trying to work this out. I'm being open-minded, I'm being positive, my body language is great, and I'm going to chase everything down. The blue zone is where your results will come. Okay, let's have a look now at some percentages on where we want you to spend most of your time. Okay, so let's have a look first at the red zone. So once again, this is, where you're angry, you're frustrated. It's where we're creating bad habits. There's a lot of negativity in that zone. So we don't want you to spend more than 10% of your emotional time in the red zone. The least amount of time you spend here, the better. Like I just mentioned in the last slide, there will be moments where you will get angry, you will get frustrated, but that's okay. Those things will happen because you're human, and things are going to happen that are outside of your control, and you're going to have a response to those. But then learning to be able to then switch off and realize, hey, this isn't going to help me. I've got to get myself back in the blue zone, particularly if you're on court. Then that's what we want to aim for. So the red zone will lead to destructive result, and spending too much time here consistently will create negative habits that ultimately will lead you away from your goals. So we want to do things that move us towards our goals. Generally, that's being in that blue zone. Okay, so let's have a look at some percentage breakdown now in the blue zone. So obviously I've just told you we want to spend no more than 10% in the red zone, which means we want to spend up to 90% in the blue zone. If we can learn to do this, we're going to be in like a lot more of what we call like a peak state. So we're going to be feeling calm, relaxed, controlled, clear, positive. That's where right now, if I asked you, you're going to be playing your best tennis. So you need to try and spend as much time as possible in the blue zone. This will help you keep calm, relaxed, and in a controlled state. And it's the best state to play your tennis. All right. Now, generally, when you get good at getting into the blue zone and keeping yourself there, generally what happens if the result doesn't go your way in a match, you generally get beaten, you don't lose. And there's a big difference between the two. Okay. If you get beaten and you've kept yourself 90% in the blue zone and you've tried your best and you've played with an open mind, you've tried to break your opponent down, you try to work things out, and someone's beaten you, they've just played too good. But you're still going to walk away from that and be super open-minded. Okay, what can I do better next time? I'm going to journal. I'm going to write some stuff down because when I play a person like this again, or if I play that person again, I want to be better and I'm going to get a better result. I mightn't get the result I want, which is the win, but if I can get a little bit closer, that's a great outcome as well. So there's a big difference between losing. If you're in the red zone, so you're more in that negative state, it's a lot easier to lose a match, which is more just when you give up, you just start slapping at the ball, you're frustrated. All of a sudden, instead of turning a negative or situation around, you'll spend a lot more time in that state, which is more destructive. I'm sure that makes sense to you. Okay, so you need to try and spend as much time in the blue zone as possible. All right. So how do we get this right? Okay, so this is really the exciting part of this lesson for you. Make sure you've got a pen and paper there, and we're gonna go through some steps now, and you can jot these down for yourself. So how do we get this right? Well, we want you to be proactive. So when you feel yourself going into certain situations, this could be a match. You want to prepare yourself for what may happen and set boundaries for how you will respond. Okay, we know you're never going to be spending the whole time feeling great on the court. Everything's perfect. I'm not missing any shots, etc., etc. You will miss shots. Someone will play better than you at stages in the match. All these things are going to happen. But what you want to do is have a clear plan of these are my boundaries I'm going to set for myself. This is what how I'm going to speak to myself. This is how I'm going to react to situations. So when we say about setting boundaries, we're talking about like venting boundaries. So if I do get frustrated, how am I going to deal with that frustration? Am I going to scream out? Am I going to say something to myself? What am I going to do? Setting boundaries with your breathing, with your self-talk and your visualization. We'll go through those in a couple more minutes. Be conscious of your emotions. So it's really important, no matter what age or stage you're at now, that you learn to understand how you're feeling and just get in touch with how you're feeling right now. And hey, how is this going to impact me? So how am I feeling? Am I letting this get to me? If this keeps going, am I going to get in the red zone? Okay, so be conscious of your emotions. Vent and let go. This is a big one. You will get frustrated at times, and it's important that you have some strategies around how you vent. Some people will keep it all in and then they'll just scream. Some people might just hit their leg a few times. Everyone's going to be different. But we want to learn to just get that out as soon as we can and then get back into some healthy habits. So get out of the red zone as quickly as possible. Don't hold on to the negative circumstances. Novak is a classic example of this, possibly like the best player of all time, right? And you still see him now at times carry on, and sometimes it's just out of the blue. He's winning a match and he'll just scream, and then for a couple of points he's holding on to something, and all of a sudden he comes back. So he's learnt himself how he has to get himself out of those situations, but he's someone that's quite vocal. So he might scream or say something to his box, and then he generally will let it go. So get into your toolbox. So let's look at that last point on the screen now. Go into your toolbox and generally doing some breath work on the court, some visualization, talking positively to yourself, and really important is holding yourself with good body language as well. So we're going to check those out in a moment. Okay, so let's have a look now at some tools. We've talked about some tools, and you've heard me talk about like breathing and visualization in this lesson. Let's get to the nuts and bolts of them so I can give you some things to start using. So let's have a look at point number one here, breathing. So if you're not breathing, you're not watching this presentation. So there's almost like two different forms of breathing. There's voluntary, and then there's involuntary. So involuntary, you're asleep, you keep breathing. You're not consciously thinking about the breathing, your body just does it. So when we talk about more voluntary breathing, that's more when we're conscious about it. So if we're conscious about our breathing, then we can do it a little bit more what we call optimally, which means our breathing can be better, can be deeper, can be slower, there can be more intention behind it. Now, what we know from research is that when we do that and we're conscious with our breath work and it's nice and slow and controlled and we're focusing on it, we secrete more happy hormone into our bloodstream, which means it's going to make us feel a little bit better. We're going to feel a bit more calmer, a bit more relaxed, which are two sections in our blue zone that we need to try to get into. So here's a couple of real basic breathwork patterns that I need you to start to try, and you're going to use the first one between points. So the breathing in will be in through the nose, and the breathing out will be through the mouth. So all you're going to do is you breathe in for 3 seconds through the nose, and you breathe out for 3 seconds through the mouth. Nice and slow and relaxed. You don't want it to be forceful, just nice and easy. And then once you get good at that, then you can shift more into 3 seconds in through the nose and 5 seconds out through the mouth. So the breath work out is we get a lot more of a relaxation response to that with the breath, with the exhalation. So if we can slow that down a little bit more, that's going to help us get into a little bit more of a calmer state as well. So real simple, right? There's nothing complicated about it. And you want to aim to do that 2 to 3 repetitions between points. So roughly you're going to have between 20 to 40 seconds between points. So you've got plenty of time to get those 3 breaths in. You need to create this habit. You don't just do it when you feel like, oh, I'm starting to get into close to the red zone, I've got to start doing it. I encourage you just to create the habit of doing it between every point. Say change of ends. So we want to go in through the nose, then we want to hold the breath, and then we want to breathe out through the mouth. So if we look at the timing sequence of it, 5 seconds in, hold for 3 seconds, and breathe out for 10. I haven't put any reps in there for you, but the reason being is just depends on how much time you've got. Even if you just do this once, it'll have an impact. But ideally, we want to try to do it a few times. But even just start off doing it once, change of ends, or where you feel like you have a little bit more time, give it a go. And I guarantee you'll feel a lot calmer. You'll feel like you can start to just open up your mind a little bit more, and you'll get yourself more into that blue zone, into that positive state. So number 2, during your visualization sessions, if you're doing any visualization, You want to start to create, see yourself like in a calm, controlled state, and you want to take yourself there when you feel like you're moving towards the red zone. This is something that has to become highly habitual. So if you're not doing any form of visualization away from your tennis, it's going to be very hard to do it when you're in the match. And you don't want to be walking around on the court trying to like visualize things. The way you'll use your visualization is in a match. It'll just be very brief. So say you've just done your 3-3 breathing pattern 2 or 3 times. You look down the other end and your opponent's still walking around. That's when you can just sort of, you don't even have to close your eyes, but as you're doing your breathing, you can just start to take yourself back to that place where you have been before with your visualization. So if you haven't, if you're not familiar with visualization, I'll just give you a real quick rundown on what you need to do. So once a day, typically at night, just before you get into bed, you're just laying down on the ground in a nice relaxed state. Do whatever you want to do with your body, whatever's going to make you feel the most relaxed. Close your eyes, and all I want you to do is just breathe how you feel your body just needs to. So nice and relaxed and deep and slow. So just think deep and slow breathing. Don't even worry about counting. So just think deep and slow, in through the nose, out through the mouth. Okay, deep and slow. That's all I need you to say to yourself. And each breath, you try to go deeper in, deeper out, deeper in, deeper out. Now, all you do from there with your visualization, it's totally up to you. This is like the exciting thing about visualization. It's almost like self exploration. So you'll be laying there and get yourself into a relaxed state, and all we want you to start to do is just to see yourself on the tennis court, see yourself playing. Think about what's the weather like in that moment. Who is there? Can you feel like the ball hitting the strings? All those things, and just start to take yourself through a process where you actually feel like you're in that moment. You can see it. You can almost like smell the smells that are there as well. So there's no wrong or right with visualization. What I want to encourage you to do is just make it authentic to you. Okay, and just see yourself in that state where you feel like you're in the blue zone. That's really the only thing I would get you to focus on. It's trying to get yourself in that blue zone where you feel calm and controlled and reflective and open-minded. All right, and I'll leave that with you if you aren't already equipped with some visualization tools. All right, let's move on. Point number 3, next tool is positive self-talk. So write down 5 to 10 self-talk affirmations and commit to using them. Basic things like, come on, stay calm, make the right decision now, I'll get through this, I can do this, let's move forward. I'm not letting this moment beat me, I'm going to find a way out of this situation. And generally, as a bit of a guide, what I encourage people to do is write down like 50 self-talk affirmations, and then go through a process of elimination until you come down to 5 to 10 of them that feel the most powerful for you. And these are the things that you're going to give yourself permission to say to yourself on the court. Okay, these self-talk affirmations. All right, so these are all things that I'm taking you through now. These are lessons that I go through with players that I work with, either in our Fast Track Academy system or with our customized program, which is what we do with like the elite junior players. So, you are getting a bit of access into what we do. It's just we go through and actually help them set all of this up. So if that's something you're interested in, you can just get in touch with us via email, and we can give you a bit more information on how we can actually help you develop these tools for yourself, specific for you. So point number 4, body language. Costs us nothing. Costs you nothing, this. Holding good posture. So chest up, wide base, knees bent, head up. You look like you're ready to go. And then from there, you're going to feel strong and confident. And then we just want you to feel like you're like bouncing up and down on your toes. So we've also got the body language presentation in the YouTube education section. So make sure you check that out as well. It's a really important one. And you'll get some more information on body language there. I'll tell you one thing. There was a study done. There's been lots of studies done on body language. But if we go into what we call our Superman or Superwoman pose, and you're standing in that for 2 to 3 minutes, you're doing some nice deep breathing, which is legs out wide, hands by your side, chest up, head up, looking straight ahead. If we're even just holding that position there, our levels of energy, our levels of self-belief rise just from being in that position. So if we can do it, particularly returning serve, in between points, legs wide, chest up, arms in a nice strong position, ready to go. We're sending a message down the other end as well that we're ready to go, which is never going to hurt us. Okay, number 5, accountability. This is a big one. So having someone using positive communication with you during the match or moment is important for you as a player. So you need to set the boundaries on what they will say and when they'll say it. Okay, here's an example. My coach's name's John, and I've sat down with John and I've said, hey, listen, watch this cool presentation by this bloke. He's awesome. His name's Nathan. And what he taught me was that I need to be doing all these things. There's 5 things I need to do. These is what they are. So I've done this. I've done my positive self-talk affirmations. I've got them ready. I've memorized a few of them. I'm going to work on my body language. What I'd like you to do is when I'm playing, what I really respond well to from you as my coach or as a parent or as a support person, whoever this person is, it's when you say this during the match, particularly in this moment. What doesn't work well for me is when people say these things to me. So I'm going to give you basically permission. If you can say these things to me at these times, that's great. Apart from that, this is what I'd like you to say, just like, come on, or I believe in you, whatever it is, but you've worked through it together. Now, then you've got to give them the permission to be able to say those things, and they also have to keep you accountable with your positive self-talk, with your body language, all these other areas that we've gone through today. If you can do that, if you can apply these tools in those moments and you can create the habits around them, I guarantee you're going to be playing a lot more tennis in the blue zone. Then we layer it with the accountability, okay, with someone saying, hey, how did you think you went? How was your body language? Yeah, it was okay. I probably saw it, probably could have been a bit better, particularly in this part of the match. Be open to that because that's how you learn. Okay, so the accountability is really, really important. All right, let's just quickly recap. So we understand now what emotions are, why we want to try to control them and keep ourselves in the blue zone as much as we can. And we're giving you some tools to use. So you've got the breath work, you've got the visualization that you're going to work on. We've got our positive self-talk affirmations, controlling that good positive body language, and then we're going to have someone or some people help us with the accountability. And last thing, you cannot control all your circumstances. Remember, our emotions get triggered by something that happens or something that gets said. Okay, there's a lot of things that are outside of our control, but what we can control is how we prepare and how we respond to those circumstances. All right, I'm sure that makes sense. Thanks for joining me today. Make sure you check out our online programs as well. We've got an extensive range of programs that will help you become stronger, fitter, faster on the tennis court. We've got lots of free content on our YouTube channel as well, so make sure you check all that out. Make sure you keep learning, jump into the other educational lessons, and I will see you soon. Take care, bye.